Welcome. My name is Jasmine Kamboj, and I'm a medical oncologist and hematologist in the state of Minnesota and your host for the day. Empowering Oncologists is a podcast brought to you by OncoDaily, where we will focus on an oncologist's day-to-day concerns of being and workflow, with a vision to find sustainable solutions. We hope to share our stories of wins, losses, resilience, and inspire and empower our community because we fly higher and longer when we fly together. Before we dive in, a disclaimer: the views shared on the podcast are an individual's and in no way are contributions from any institution, organization, or guidelines. For our session today, we have Dr. Herbert Loong, who holds joint appointments of Clinical Associate Professor in the Department of Clinical Oncology and Deputy Medical Director of the Phase 1 Clinical Trials Center of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. When not working, he loves to play golf and has his hobby as taking exams. Dr. Loong, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Jasmine. It's a real pleasure and honor to be part of this.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Herbert, please share your journey with our audience. Like, how do you go from being in Hong Kong to all over the world, and you're an ASCO volunteer, you are part of so many international organizations. Please share, like, how did all of this happen?
Sure. Maybe a little bit of a background about myself. So I grew up in Hong Kong, although I spent some years as a child in Canada as well. But I did my schooling in Hong Kong, including my high school as well as my university. I graduated from the University of Hong Kong School of Medicine in 2003. And I did all my internal medicine as well as medical oncology training here in Hong Kong as well. And after finishing my training, I went to Toronto, Canada at the Princess Margaret Cancer Centre to do a fellowship in drug development, as well as sarcoma and uro-oncology. And after that year of fellowship, I returned back to Hong Kong and joined the Chinese University of Hong Kong as an academic staff. And I've been essentially in the same position ever since my return from Canada, and that was in 2014. And since then, I'm currently the medical director of the Phase 1 Clinical Trial Center for Oncology, as well as the associate professor in oncology. And my interests are in thoracic oncology, including lung cancer, as well as sarcoma and early phase drug development. Also interested in global oncology, and that's, I think, how we met, Jasmine, in terms of our work in the International Affairs Committee of ASCO. And also now recently also embarking on particular themes and studies on, say, health policy, specifically pertaining to, say, lung cancer policy, including lung cancer screening, as well as other associated studies.
Wonderful, wonderful. How is the lung cancer screening in China and Hong Kong, and how's the smoking in those countries?
Yeah, so in actual fact, our epidemiology for lung cancer is somewhat different from the Western population. Certainly, you'd be aware that in the East Asian population, we have much larger predominance of EGFR positive disease. So we are seeing the younger female non-smoking population being afflicted with lung cancer. And within Hong Kong, for example, our tobacco control is very, very strict. So we have one of the strictest tobacco controls in the world. Taxation is very high for tobacco. And just a little factoid is for any visitor coming to Hong Kong, you're only allowed to bring up to 19 sticks of cigarette. So not even one full pack. You could only bring in 19 sticks. Otherwise, you'd get fined. So in terms of our lung cancer population here, so we are seeing a decline in, say, small cell lung cancer and squamous cell lung cancer. And we have a larger predominance of adenocarcinoma, especially EGFR. Now, just across the border in China, certainly East Asia, we are also seeing the non-smoking population. But in terms of the smoking population, it's still a major health burden. So there are certainly also people with, say, squamous as well as small cell, just really north of the border. And there's a lot of communication between Hong Kong and the mainland. So we're also seeing patients who are referred from China to Hong Kong. And of course, some of our patients are also going up to China for some of the newest clinical trials that they have available up there as well. And in terms of lung cancer screening, we are really starting a pilot program in Hong Kong, and our university, together with, of course, our department chairman, Professor Tony Mok, as well as my colleague, Dr. Molly Lee, we're running a pilot program to do an AI-assisted lung cancer screening population-based study, together with some biomarker studies. But I think in terms of at least East Asia, the real champions for lung cancer screening will be from Taiwan. So Professor Yang from National Taiwan University had championed a talent study where they're really looking at the non-smoking high-risk population and certainly have been able to identify earlier stage lung cancer. And I think that program is now employed in a national capacity where actually they are really, again, picking up early stage lung cancer in what would be considered as not necessarily a high risk population in the West, but certainly for us in Asia, these are the high risk patients.
Those are some fascinating updates. Thank you for sharing those. Yeah, I always used to wonder about the East Asian non-smoking women population. Like, what about screening those? So I'm glad that you guys are addressing that. Herbert, you are a recipient of the European Cancer Congress grant and the ASCO Annual Meeting Merit Award. Tell us about your professional journey that led you to garner such accolades so early in your career. Like, what can our young fellows and trainees and early career oncologists learn from your experience?
There's a lot that I think as a young fellow or a trainee that you can do. I mean, certainly, there are really big projects that you could be part of. And I think what's most important to begin with is identify a good mentor who would be able to guide you through your academic journey. Certainly, everybody would want to be a first author in a very prominent clinical trial, for example, to be able to publish in high impact journals. But I think throughout the process of your training, there are also smaller projects that you can either take part in and work together with your colleagues, or potentially even lead in your own capacity as well. And I think a lot of skills that you pick up as a trainee, especially doing the small projects, do come into use when you're actually involved in, say, more larger projects. And I think actually a lot of very valuable data can be obtained in your own home institution as a trainee. And when you're actually really seeing patients day in and day out, there are a lot of good ideas that you can also pick up on. And interestingly enough, a lot of the ideas really came from just discussions over lunch, over different just discussions with my colleagues. And when we just got together and collected some data and was able to present it as an abstract, as a poster initially in one of the smaller conferences in Hong Kong, we built upon that with several centers being involved and then being able to present it at, say, the larger conferences, including, say, ASCO and ESMO. And I think with that particular sort of stepwise approach, what you're able to do is, say, when you're actually at the conference, the greatest thing about being able to present a poster is to be able to communicate with other colleagues who have like-minded interests. Then typically those are the other poster presenters who are on the left of you, on the right of you, and in the poster hall. And that's where connections are built. And then subsequently, you also connect with these people from around the world, and then it becomes a multinational effort. And very soon, in actual fact, the entire process snowballs into something that can be quite impactful. And, I've always been asked previously, would you rather do a podium presentation or would you want to present a poster? To a certain extent, of course, the podium presentation is very attractive. It's something that gets a lot of attention. But if you want to build an academic sort of framework and to be able to interact with other colleagues, it really is the posters that really is the most engaging and most fruitful. So I would definitely, when I go to an international conference, I would actually spend more time in the poster than actually listening to the talks in the lecture hall. More, especially since now everything's recorded. You could watch it again virtually. You could even watch it in your hotel room whilst brushing your teeth or in your pajamas. But being able to go to the poster sessions and be able to talk to the actual presenters, that's where you really build that connection and have good ideas for your subsequent projects.
Those are some so valuable insights, Herbert, that you mentioned. I don't think we've discussed that on the podcast, at least before this discussion. I so appreciate that, you laid out a step-by-step algorithm, like find a mentor, dedicate your time into smaller projects within your institution, because oftentimes I am including myself in this, conundrum. Oftentimes we're like, like this big organization is doing this big project, and how can I be a part of it sitting in a smaller community or a smaller hospital? And I don't think, as you said, we don't have to go too far. We can identify and recognize so many great things within our home institutions. And then, as you said, it's not always what is more glamorous, the podium presentations, but sometimes devil lies in the details, and that's where friendships happen and connections happen. So wonderful insights. Thank you so much. Herbert, you have co-founded the Asia Pacific Oncology Drug Development Consortium and the Asia Pacific Coalition Against Lung Cancer. Tell us, what are the visions behind these organizations and some of the challenges and rewards of the work you've done for these coalitions as you brought them along?
Sure. So in Asia, we love our acronyms. And so these two organizations are both organizations which I've co-founded together with a lot of good colleagues within the region. Maybe I'll introduce the Asia Pacific Oncology Drug Development Consortium, or APODDC for short, first. The impetus of actually developing or forming this particular coalition or a consortium really stems from the fact that, in actual fact, a lot of us are involved in clinical trials. The people within the steering committee of this group are people who are routinely involved in clinical trials, especially in even earlier phase clinical trials, where the Asian population, being the most dominant population in terms of cancer incidence in the world, are also contributing to the development of drugs. But what we've realized initially was, after doing the clinical trials and having that drug subsequently being approved by, say, the US FDA, it takes a really long time before these drugs are actually being able to benefit our own patients who actually help contribute to its development. And we really wanted to understand why that's the case, and really wanted to be able to narrow the gap in terms of the drug development process and the subsequent drug accessibility issues that we have within the region. So certainly within the Asia Pacific region, it's very heterogeneous in terms of the access to healthcare. That can be because of financial considerations. That could be because of geographical considerations. And within our group, in actual fact, what we're really trying to do is to be able to harmonize some of the educational outreaches that we have within the community around the Asia Pacific region, and really also trying to study the heterogeneity that we have, and then to be able to upscale the entire Asia Pacific region for improving drug access. So within this group, in actual fact, we have right now about 17 to 18 scientific committee members from across the Asia Pacific region. In actual fact, we go as north as Japan and Korea, as south as New Zealand, as east as Hawaii, and as west as Thailand. So within this particular region, in actual fact, we've done several projects so far, really trying to understand the diversity as well as how to address some of the heterogeneity. I think one of the key projects that we did was, in actual fact, a Asia Pacific specific NGS testing guideline in real sort of develop in answer to the ASCO guideline and the ESMO guidelines, but really looking at the particular peculiarities of Asia, being the socioeconomic aspect of it, as well as the molecular epidemiology of some of our diseases. So we also looked at, for example, whether or not it's worthwhile doing NGS upfront for all lung cancer patients, given the fact that, say, lung cancer in our locality is predominantly driven by EGFR, which can be tested with a more simple test, a cheaper test, and that in actual fact may be able to be more beneficial for the entire health system. We also looked at some of the aspects in terms of how we should recommend, say, NGS in some of the Asian cancers, which are not included in the ESMO or ASCO guidelines. So things like hepatocellular carcinoma, things like some of the other Asian cancers, including nasopharynx, for example. So that's sort of what we've been doing. At the same time, we've also been improving the educational outreach. So we've held various webinars on the importance of, say, real-world evidence in sort of establishing evidence for drug development. We also looked at the potential for, say, harmonization of some of the regulatory authorities and their decisions within the Asia Pacific region. And right now, in actual fact, we're preparing and finalizing a manuscript on how a good molecular tumor board setup would be like in the Asia Pacific region, given the fact that, again, with all the disparities in terms of healthcare. So we're continuing our efforts in terms of all these. And as a group, I think we've been able to really get a lot of traction from various stakeholders, including regulatory authorities, including the pharmaceutical industry as well. And hopefully we'll be able, again, to continue our mission of improving the abilities of the Asia Pacific region to be recognized as a key player in drug development. So the other organization
Wonderful.
is the Asia Pacific Coalition Against Lung Cancer. And that is an organization which is more geared towards the importance of health policy and advocacy specific to lung cancer, including, say, lung cancer screening, again, accessibility to various therapeutics. And it's really designed to be able to collect and harmonize a lot of the thoughts of the Asia Pacific region and to be a platform which can help then engage stakeholders as well as governments and really to lobby governments to put lung cancer or lung health as a top priority. We've done quite a bit of work there too. So in actual fact, we've created a position paper, a consensus paper on how lung cancer screening should be done in the Asia Pacific region. And in actual fact, we were able to present that at the recent APEC meeting, which is the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperative Group meeting, which is a government ministerial meeting that was held in Korea, I think in September earlier this year. It felt like going to the United Nations. To be able to present that document to all these government officials. We're continuing this again in the various countries.
It is giving me so much joy to hear all this great work you are doing, Herbert. And, these coalitions in Asia region are doing, it is extremely, extremely gratifying to just hear that. And I'm sure it is super gratifying to you to be a part of these, projects. It's very good. It's very nice to hear that.
It's really fun being part of these coalitions, and the funness really has to do with the fact that everybody's contributing. So it's great to have, although I'm maybe the figurehead of the group, I would say that the fun really is to be able to get on a call and everybody's so excited, 30 people really contributing their ideas, and to be able to really upscale together. So I think it's great.
Absolutely. No, kind of like how we felt at the ASCO International Affairs Committee. It was like 100% engagement. Everybody's so enthused with ideas and wants to just contribute to, better the cancer care in their countries. That's amazing. Pivoting on to the ASCO IAC, how has volunteering with ASCO played out for you? And how did you get into ASCO as a volunteer?
Oh, I mean, that probably is the most important part of my journey or my academic journey in terms of helping me understand how the world works. So it all started, I think, when I just finished my medical oncology training. And my first sort of volunteer work for ASCO was to help teach a multidisciplinary cancer management course, an MCMC course. That was held in the Philippines. They wanted somebody from the region to also co-teach with an ASCO faculty. And in actual fact, I was able to do that. Interestingly enough, I don't do much head and neck cancer anymore. But previously, because of course in Hong Kong, we see a lot of nasopharyngeal carcinoma, we were able to go and do some teaching. That's actually where I met Roselle. And at the same time, in actual fact, aside from myself, one of our nursing colleagues, who is a specialist in terms of post-radiation care for the head and neck region, was able to go as well. And to be able to go there and to interact with our colleagues in the Philippines, but also to be able to interact with the ASCO faculty, really helped my interest in terms of continuing to volunteer. And since then, I've done various other MCMC courses, brought me to very interesting places around the world, including Azerbaijan. If I was not going to teach, I don't think I would ever visit, but I'm so glad I did. And that's where I met Dr. Julie Graylow, who was teaching breast cancer at that time, and also subsequently to be able to then volunteer in the International Affairs Committee, initially as a representative of Hong Kong and China, and then subsequently in the second iteration of my rotation to be able to join as a chair. So currently I'm the immediate past chair, but previously was the chair-elect as well as the chair, and to be really able to help shape ASCO with an international viewpoint. Both, of course, help lead ASCO's direction internationally, as well as to reflect the wants and wishes of international members to feed back to ASCO. And it's been great. And also to be able to meet so many interesting people, including yourself, Jasmine, as well as others from around the world.
Thank you.
And it's phenomenal. Yeah.
I have been privileged to be a part of different committees and task forces within my organizations and ASCO and my state organization as well. I have to say that the enthusiasm that I have experienced in the International Affairs Committee at ASCO, that is something different. I have not seen that or experienced that anywhere else, where there is every single person has such great ideas. And I'm personally very impressed with you and Pramesh. I'm like, how did they even think of that? That's the question that comes to my mind. I'm like, wow, that they must have a lot of experience and wisdom to be able to come up with these ideas. It's really impressive. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
One advice you would give to yourself of 10 years ago?
To give advice to somebody, for myself 10 years ago, I would probably, sort of in retrospect, say those ideas that you had 10 years ago, you should fly with it. You should do it, and you should spend some time looking into it. These ideas are not silly ideas, and right now I'm stepping on my own toes and shooting myself for not going forward with some of the ideas that I had. So I think if you have good ideas, act on it. You're still young. If it doesn't work out, you could move on to something else, but a missed opportunity will be a missed opportunity. And I wish there were some projects that I did, there were some steps that I changed, which may ultimately lead to more interesting things and better things.
Wonderful. Very well said. Thank you. A little bit of rapid fire about you, Herbert. Your favorite book?
I'm a bit of a nerd, so I was just thinking about that actually, Jasmine, and I think it's the whole series of Tom Clancy novels, a bit old school, but Jack Ryan and him being, a CIA agent going around the world. I think everybody wants that sort of escape. And I would sort of wish I was one. So, that's really it.
If you were not a physician, this is an off-topic question, but if you were not a physician, what would you be?
I've always wanted to be a pilot. I would probably be an airline pilot of some sort. Something that requires wearing a uniform and driving something.
Your favorite leader, Herbert?
I would say Barack Obama. He is somebody who is so well-spoken. He's so worldly. And I think he really embodies somebody who has, who really understands the world. And he is willing to listen. At least that's what I see as somebody in the community.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, there's a lot of grace to his being. Your favorite study, your favorite clinical trial, it has to be a non-lung cancer, non-sarcoma trial.
Actually, I think probably will be that clinical trial, a phase 3 trial of ipilimumab in melanoma, the first ever checkpoint inhibitor trial. So that was, I think, in 2010. And I think that really changed the landscape of oncology, at least in our generation, in our lifetime. It wasn't all that fantastic in terms of its outcome, but it was very novel, and it really set the stage.
Wonderful. Your favorite restaurant in Hong Kong?
I actually like to eat wonton noodles. I don't know whether you know exactly what I'm talking about. So these are noodles with dumplings, which are made of shrimp. There's one wonton restaurant called Max, and it's a family-owned business. The great thing about these noodles is they're so small in size that you always leave feeling a little hungry. You always want a bit more. And I think that's how they do it. That's how they keep on making you want to come back. And whenever I go and travel, say if I go to a meeting in the US, after I land, I even try to hit the noodle shop before I go home, because those are like these sort of home tasting things that I would miss if I'm traveling abroad.
Aw, that's sweet. That's sweet. All right, Herbert. A fun fact about you. So tell us and our audience, what did you do in COVID, and what are your aspirations about that one particular license you got through COVID?
Sure. So, during COVID, of course, I think all of us had restrictions in terms of where we could travel. And, as a form of escape, what I've decided to do was to do a boating license. Many people may not know that, of course, Hong Kong is well known for its city, for its skyscrapers and, hustle and bustle. But in actual fact, 3/4 of Hong Kong's area is country parks, and we have a very, very beautiful coastline. And actually, water sports is something that's actually it's a very nice place to do water sports in Hong Kong, including boating. Decided to take on a boating license, did the exam, did a lot of studying. And then my plan really is to hopefully to be able to have some time to own a boat, buy a boat, and to be able to spend some time in the waters. Right now, though, I have the license. I just don't have the boat. So we'll see how that goes.
That is amazing. I love learning about my guests through the fun fact questions. There's a lot I learn about them through this. So it's amazing that you are aspiring to get a boat. It's very fun. Last question of the day for you, Dr. Loong. If you were to relive your life, would you become an oncologist?
I think I would be an oncologist, but maybe not necessarily a medical oncologist. I think I like what I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, there are other aspects of oncology where you're also able to contribute. So I've actually, as a medical student, I've always enjoyed surgery. I actually graduated with a distinction in surgery. I did a surgical internship before actually doing internal medicine. So maybe that would be another side of the career, which I may want to do. In Hong Kong, in actual fact, most of our oncologists are clinical oncologists. So they do actually both radiation as well as systemic therapies. And certainly I'm very interested in the science and the physics of radiation, but I am trained as a medical oncologist. So that's an aspect which I don't actually do at this moment in time. So, to be able to do that may be interesting as well. But yeah. I think right now, I'm pretty much set into my career. It's probably a little too late to do some retraining. So I'll just continue and soldier on and see where this will take me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Loong. The 3 key takeaways for the oncology community from our conversation today. Don't underestimate the power of smaller projects and the projects that you can actually take on at your home institutions, folks. Sometimes, and I include myself in this conundrum, sometimes we get really impressed with what bigger organizations are doing. And yes, they are doing great work. But that does not mean you cannot pursue great projects in your smaller organizations or home institutions, because you do have better access and better chances of getting onto projects there. So please don't underestimate the power of your home organization. Secondly, we cannot emphasize this enough, power of having a good mentor. And we've discussed this several times before as well. Sometimes you may not find that the right fit in first attempt, and that's okay. Don't get discouraged. But having a great mentor is like having a catalyst in your academic career. They help you prevent, making wrong decisions or wrong choices, which ultimately leads to better outcomes and better, faster achievement of what your purpose and goal in your academic career might be. And last but not the least, we go to big organizational meetings and conferences and conventions, and we all get, we all get attracted to bigger presentations and stuff. And yes, there's a lot of value to them. But again, don't underestimate the power of having a small chat over a cup of coffee or in a restaurant or at a poster session. Those are equally important, and sometimes you spark friendships through those conversations, which can be lifetime of friendships and connections, and can also facilitate your career advancement. So small things can lead to bigger impact. I think that would be the one learning point from our conversation today. Thank you to our viewers and listeners. This is Jasmine Kamboj and Dr. Herbert Loong signing off on behalf of OncoDaily from our conversation on empowering oncologists. And now we have an Empowering Oncologist playlist on YouTube. Don't miss an episode and stay tuned. Thank you, Dr. Loong. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to OncoDaily on YouTube. Hit the bell icon to stay updated.